We are live, friends. At Myth Informed, Niggles and Bits. I told you. We have Jake with us.
Hello, hello.
But before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to the WNBA. No, the Wisconsin Broadcast Association, hereby known as the WNBA. We will be speaking at their event. Well, some of us will be. This weekend, we'll be promoting the podcast and telling young minds about the beauty of the podcast world. So,
answering questions.
Wait, are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Well, it will be interesting then if Brian's there. So yeah, that's going down on Saturday. Thank you, everyone. Anyway, welcome, Jake.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah.
So, Jake, we wanted to bring you on because we were trying to get a good example of contemporary college culture, right? If you read the College Fix, you might think colleges are one thing, right? But then if you read kind of the Washington Post, they might say, look, there's nothing to see here. We wanted to get at what's going on college campuses and your experience as a recent college graduate.
Well, let's also give a little background, Brian.
Okay, go for it.
We didn't just find Jake on the street and said, "Oh, you look young."
Pretty much.
Oh, pretty much. That's a good point. So Jake has actively taken a role in the team, which we're very thankful for.
Right now, you've imparted to him a bias that was undue.
Fuck it. I don't. I mean, there's no bias. There's, we have people from all walks of life. In the studio, we got Mexicans. We got.
But dare you become a centrist organization, you'll be called right wing.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's where Jake comes into the picture. We have people from different generations, and Jake stratifies the younger part of our, of our arc,
mm-hmm.
of our team. And so, we thought it'd be very interesting to see how much of this nonsense that we typically see in mainstream media and the narrative is actually true on college campuses. Jake, bring us behind the curtain, behind the veil.
When did you graduate? When did you start it? And where'd you go to college? When did you start? When did you graduate?
Sure. So I started college in 2013 at UW-Madison. I don't really remember what was going on politically at the time, but
2013?
Not much.
Is that Pizzagate?
No, it's prior to Ferguson, so not a whole lot.
But no, graduated 4 years, graduated in 2017, so right on kind of the brink of the current, I guess, identity politics
mm-hmm.
movement. So maybe start seeing the first inklings of it on campus. But yeah, graduated econ and philosophy. Now I'm working over here in Milwaukee. It's how I got in contact with you guys. I don't really know if you want to probe me for questions or if you want me to just start.
Oh, we will
rambling.
We'll probe so hard.
So did you notice like what people would be calling like social justice activism on the campus, and if so, when?
Are you asking if I noticed it occurring on campus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my opinion might be different from others, but I didn't see too much of it, and where it was very kind of set off in its own thing. Maybe it's just
you're in Wisconsin, right?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Okay.
I mean, that's important because
yeah,
we're different than other states.
I guess maybe it was just the size of the campus that kind of does it, and there's a lot of different, a lot of international students, a lot of people from rural Wisconsin there. So it tends to be that different groups kind of segment themselves off from each other. We have what you'd call potentially the social activist group would kind of stick to themselves, kind of do their own thing. But if you didn't want to, participate in it or really even notice it, you could probably get through most of your college experience without having any interaction with it whatsoever.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So, but were there any like Sentinel events on campuses, like the Ferguson rise?
Sentinel events, like people dying.
Yeah, but no, like when I went to college, right? Rodney King, the Rodney King like beating was absolutely front and center, right? I know other people that were at different university when the OJ verdict came down, and I've heard that like the student unions were separated between black and white in the union when the OJ verdict went down. So I'm saying, like on campus, was Ferguson a big deal? What was there anything? What about the election of Donald Trump?
That was 2013. That was way before Trump.
He graduated in 2017.
Oh, that's a good point.
No, I guess now they bring it up. It wasn't something on campus that happened. I can't remember the guy's name, so I apologize to you. But there was
Ralph Nader.
No, there was a black man who was killed in Madison by the police during
the
my
kid.
time.
The kid.
What was his name?
Was it Tony Robinson?
Okay,
No, that's the motivational speaker.
that's Tommy Robinson.
No, that's Tony Robinson.
Okay,
And I don't remember his name, but
Okay.
I do remember that.
I know who you're talking about.
You would see. It was near the time that the Ferguson and those sort of things were happening.
Sure.
So we did, and the whole city itself kind of held its breath, expecting, this huge explosion and riot to take place. But from what I experienced, there was definitely demonstrations, definitely people out there protesting, but you didn't see the full scale, riots that you saw in Ferguson or that you saw in like Baltimore. Was that Ferguson?
Mhm.
And that kind of happened. And I think for better or worse, it has to do with Madison, UW-Madison being in the state capital, where instead of taking to the streets and demonstrating and kind of, expressing your emotions there, people would generally go to the Capitol, around the Capitol Rotunda, and kind of, demonstrate there, kind of get together, do their chants in more of a public space that's bound to get media
and were
attention.
these students, or was this just the general population? Because Wisconsin's a pretty purple state, right? But the cities tend to be bluer, the countryside tends to be redder. So how do you know what was students and what wasn't?
I mean, at the end of the day, you don't really know, because the UW-Madison has, you have adult students there, you have kid students, but for the most part, you can kind of see who's like the younger versus the older, who's students, who's not. I mean, there's definitely a very active resituating here. There's definitely a very active.
Your face is hidden.
Like adult activist group in Madison for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely take part in all these things. I mean, even besides this happening, there was the teacher protest, or I forget what it was for, but there's the protest a couple years back. For
Yeah, the Act
teacher pay.
10 or whatever it was.
Mhm. There's that. There was
So Act 10, for those that don't know, Scott Walker. Now this is actually going way back. Scott Walker wanted to
I was there.
get rid of public sector unions. That was part of Act 10.
No. That's not true. Because I talked to some of the people that were there. He wanted to make it so that it was not mandatory, first of all, to be in a union. And second of
Right.
all, he was trying to get teachers to pay for some of their benefits, like some small ass percentage. Now, granted, teachers aren't paid enough as it is, so I can understand why they were pissed off. But, we could have taken money from other people, not teachers. So, but that was what was happening.
Yeah,
I was actually in the Capitol, living like a block away when all the protesting was going on. So we came out and we interviewed people. Like, we just talked to people. They didn't know what the fuck was happening. No one could
So
speak
no, at Act 10
intelligently.
specifically, was this brought up in the classroom though? Because everyone keeps talking about, we're trying to be fair, and I do think this is that there is kind of a leftist bias on campus. But what was your experience? Were people talking about this? Especially like students and then teachers.
in regards to Act 10, there's nothing really I was exposed to on campus per se. I mean, I would talk to some other students who I was friends with. They would mention, their experience being, Wisconsin public school students and living through like what Act 10 happened, all the teachers protesting, that sort of thing. But on campus itself, I didn't really see much remnant of that. Although I will say, if you go to the Capitol, first, there's being so close to the Capitol, a lot of these student events, or they have like the Sunday, I think it was Sunday, like farmers market
Saturday.
farmers market at the Capitol, and you'd still see some people, like a handful, but they'd be protesting various things. Sometimes the teachers thing would still be there. Sometimes it would have to do with veteran affairs, or insert your political hot topic of the day. There'd always be someone out
every
there.
single week. There's like a stable contingent every week, anti-war.
Yep, they're still
It's like
there.
the same 10
Okay,
people
so
or
what about
whatever.
we've seen like Donald Trump on elected. Did they cancel school the next day? Like that did happen on some campuses.
So I think
Jake was a good student.
too well.
He didn't care.
because
He went.
I didn't think Donald Trump would win. I didn't vote for him, but at the end of the day, I was kind of more bemused than anything by him
Okay.
winning.
Is that a virtue signal?
No,
Were people where were you watching? Were you watching this on TV with a bunch of people? Were you by yourself?
I think actually my girlfriend at the time were out of town. I'd come back in the day of we did something. We were come back in. We were actually at McDonald's watching the last election results pour in, when
Shit.
it kind of became certain that like that was what's going to happen. And it was kind of interesting. There was similar like on what I said earlier. There was people didn't really know how to react. It was like everybody was kind of waiting for like the mass riots that you'd expect on like a liberal campus to break out, but they never really did. There was the protest. There's like the Women's March. People were out, but you never got to the point where people were like.
But they didn't cancel classes the next day.
I think
because it would have been a Wednesday.
I don't remember if it was a campus-wide policy, but I remember some of the people I knew who were more upset about him being elected. Some of the professors were saying that you can take the class off; attendance won't be counted. But I think for the most part, they still held class. I mean, it's college. I mean, there's not really many classes that are gonna really. As I took, they're really gonna hold you like accountable, check your attendance every day, and really mark you down if you're not there. So it's kind of like a,
what
take
was the
day.
mood? Were people pissed, or was it just like, holy crap, surprise? Like, where was it?
I think it's the general shock and awe that you kind of just see through everybody. It was definitely surprise. But I think just people were so unprepared for it to happen. They were just kind of like walking around, almost like shell shocked in a way. They just like didn't really know what to make of it. They knew they didn't like it. They knew they were unhappy about it, but I mean, there's nothing you can do. There's the whole right away. There was the whole hashtag not my president thing, but I mean,
but elections aren't that big of a deal. I don't understand why we're even.
But no, it wasn't long after that. I think in November of 2016. So this was just maybe a few weeks after that. That's when Ben Shapiro came to UW, and that you can see the footage on there like was disrupted for at least 30 minutes. He actually gave a double bird to the crowd as they were like chanting. The UW had to put a new policy.
As Brian just
do you
gave
remember
a
this?
double bird to the camera.
I didn't mean to. I was simulating those. I was doing my best Ben Shapiro. So as they were screaming and they do you remember that protest at all?
I do not remember the protest at all.
Okay. But that did happen, and then UW had to change their policy because Ben Shapiro got them in a ton of trouble by reading out the policy that UW had said. And UW said that if the protesters come in and you have to remove them, like if Ben's security force must remove the protesters, we're going to shut down the event. So when they came in, got on stage and screamed and yelled for 30 minutes, had security tried to remove them, the entire event would be canceled. So they had to wait it out. Now, eventually, 30 minutes later, they did run out of steam and then they left. But Ben absolutely slammed them for their policy, and then that pissed off a ton of state legislators.
Him slamming them pissed off the state legislators?
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that the university policy was if speaker comes in, and the protesters disrupt the event so much that you need to boot the protesters, the entire event gets canceled, means that protesters, all they need to do to get events canceled is go in, throw a ruckus, and then it's over. I mean, you've essentially empowered them. Yeah. And there was a bunch of red state legislators that one wanted to defund gender studies, defund whiteness studies, which is a thing at University of Wisconsin, and others wanted to slash the budget for the school by about half, and then say, "Well, just let the school deal with it. Then they'll have to fire these people."
Oh, that's an interesting point. I think maybe I don't remember my timeline exactly on this, but I think it happened after the Berkeley incident, maybe perhaps. But I know it was in this time where like a lot of speakers, and
the Berkeley was. No, Berkeley is a year after that. Berkeley's in 2017. Oh, Ben Shapiro at Berkeley.
I know.
You mean Milo at Berkeley?
Right.
Yeah, Milo at Berkeley's before that.
Right. So there's generally this time where a lot of people, a lot of center or right, or at least non-left speakers are being, forcefully shut down on campus. And I think it's kind of the idea between all these, I'd imagine, between all these university bodies as a whole, is that this is a problem. It's not something with an easy solution, so we need to find some way to address it. And I think after the Ben Shapiro thing, UW-Madison has instated a policy saying, if you are, aggressive in your protest to the point where I think you need to be like reprimanded. I don't remember the exact wording on it, but if you're found doing this twice, you're suspended from school, and after a third time, you get expelled, which is interesting. I think there was some kind of, backlash against it, but at the end of it, I think it was very small, and they just kind of plowed through and said, no, this is a thing. This is what needs to happen.
Wait, so it exists, that policy?
It does exist. And
I think that's awesome.
The wording, you might look it up, but the wording behind it was something like, it's important that, especially in today's day and age, students are exposed to all sides of an argument, all different ideas, especially the ones you disagree with. So you know how to handle them and are able to talk about them without reacting with violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like the
Paraphrase.
Jonathan Haidt thing, the coddling of the American mind. That's
Right.
the-
Here's the Journal Sentinel says, you know, the policy is to address. No, you can see a clear bias, right? The policy is to address the so-called heckler's veto, where it requires students twice found responsible for disrupting freedom of expression to be suspended, and a student who disrupts 3 times to be expelled. And it defines students who engage in, quote, violent or other disorderly misconduct materially and substantially disrupts free expression of others. So, the policy further mandates that protests and demonstrations that interfere with the rights of others to engage and or listen to expressive activity shall not be permitted or subject to sanction.
Can we just have a whole podcast of you reading things to us?
I was really, really happy about this. Now, left-wing media in Milwaukee was like the Journal Sentinel was pretty pissed off about this. I know others that were saying, look at Wisconsin limiting free speech, i.e. limiting the protest. But I just don't think that limiting protests where you're pulling fire alarms, you're shutting up. No, that isn't limiting protest. That's limiting bad behavior.
No one disagrees with that, except for
Lots of people.
except for apparently
The Journal Sentinel, for one, and many others. I saw many other policies saying Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin limits free speech.
Anyway, that's fine. It's what's it called? It's college campuses. It's a weird place. As long as you don't have a cry closet that you could go to, then you're good.
Were
good
there
to
safe
go.
spaces on campus?
Not that I specifically recall. I know there was a cry closet, but I think it was more based.
Cry
It was more
closet?
based on the
Is that
idea
a
of
thing?
finals. It was
No way.
It was during final season. I think there was a small closet someone that say if you need 5 minutes, just go in here to cry and de-stress a little bit, then come back out.
Dashing Rogue, thank you. We will try and keep up the good work if Jake allows us. Our esteemed, honored guest,
Right.
young millennial. Are you? Or
On
Zeno?
EverQuest, my first character was a rogue.
Nice.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
But no, kind of going off of what you were saying. The first thing in my freshman year, when I was kind of doing the whole, first week of campus, getting oriented, kind of learning how to, getting your rundown of how to best live with people in the dorms. They did introduce this thing called the safe word policy.
What?
Or
What is your safe word?
Excuse me.
Okay.
New word policy.
What is your safe word?
New word policy.
Okay, wait. Now, is this is associated with the kink club of University of Wisconsin?
Not quite.
Okay,
But
just making sure.
so the idea was that anytime you were talking with someone, either say that you were talking about some kind of actually didn't matter what you were talking about. If whatever you said upset them or triggered them or didn't even need to, as long as they didn't like it, they could just say, new word. And the idea was you would drop it, you wouldn't pursue it, you would just kind of move on to the next thing. And this was as a freshman,
You would say new word,
new word, just like new word, new topic, that sort of idea.
Okay.
And I had a very strong,
and what they said this in orientation, or is that what?
it was like dorm orientation.
Okay.
It was like during the first welcome week of school.
Sure.
But I very strongly opposed. I didn't make a stand against because I'm not trying to make a huge debate over something that I really at the end of the
Well, you're
day,
trying to get laid.
don't really
I
care
don't
about.
blame
He's a
you.
freshman.
Okay.
At the end of-
Yeah, you were celibate until you were fucking 40. I'm sorry. He's trying to get laid as a freshman.
All right, go ahead.
But no, so I heavily disagreed with it in the fact that I thought that this is idea that if it upsets you to the point, it should be something that you should talk about. You should if it doesn't upset me, it upsets you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should talk with you. Why does it upset you? You should tell me why you feel this way. Maybe I'll kind of understand things a little more differently, and maybe you feel the same way as
It's
you
a
do.
very mature way of looking at it.
Or maybe I'll talk to you and you'll say, oh, maybe it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. And I think it just kind of, to me, the idea of it just kind of, it just kind of stifled free thought exchange, just free speech. And
Did you ever have it used on you though, or did you ever use it? It sounds like you probably didn't use it.
He clearly didn't
I
pay
didn't use
attention.
it.
Yeah, but did it get used on you?
I don't know if I ever heard it used, or it was definitely not used on me. I don't know if I ever
Right.
even heard it used. So maybe that kind of speaks to it. Maybe the idea is that you have this option, and maybe that's the kind of
Yeah.
it's like a safety net. in
Sure.
case-
Well, I mean, it's kind of a preventative thing. It's to prevent trauma, right? Like you don't you don't want to actually have, if people were distributing rape whistles, you ideally you never have to use them.
Right.
Right. So, but it was never used.
That's
So
a
it could
running
be-
joke of the company that produces rape whistles.
Yeah. Let's see. Now we're stealing the joke of the
I don't
singing
remember.
comedian.
I don't remember who it was. that
Bo
did it.
Burnham.
Oh, was it Bo
Yeah,
Burnham?
it's Bo Burnham.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Where he's like, it's like the CEO of the company of rape whistles.
All right.
where
Because now you
like-
don't even want to stop rape at all, because if
you
rape goes
do,
down, you'll
then
see
your
an equal
revenues go-
decline in whistle sales. Yes,
That's true.
One
That-
part of
that's
his
what it
joke.
was.
Interesting.
And that's part of the song "Love."
No
is.
comment, Jake. No comment.
Right. But so it never had to be used then. At least didn't get used with you. Did you know anyone that it did
That's right.
use for? Well, I mean, do you ever have anyone go, "Oh my God, somebody new worded me"?
No, it never really brought up. I think it's kind of antithetical to the whole point of it,
Okay.
is that you're not supposed to really bring it up and bring attention to it. I mean, the idea is that if someone says it, you're not supposed to single them out and make fun of them for using it. So I'd never heard of anybody using it. But that's not to say it never was. I imagine it was used. I mean, once or
What
twice.
about like trainings in microaggressions? Did you get those? Did you know what that was?
the
Or
idea?
is
Of
that like later development?
the idea of microaggressions was a thing I was introduced to in college, and
Wait, by who?
just through the atmosphere, just talking to people, and kind of you would see it like written on signs, or
Okay.
I mean, it'd be like passive, but people would like, put it, or there'd be like the campus, like the student body, like dorm board, and they put up like all these like kind of very like
Microaggressions with
very
a line through it.
I don't even very like liberal things, kind of like promoting, the safest of spaces without using those exact words.
But that's interesting. If a college in Wisconsin that has a lot of rural Wisconsinites went, it's not that they went that far, but they've gone and adopted these coddling practices. You have to think that, more intense liberal bastions would have gone, above and beyond that. Even we don't know, obviously.
That's true. I guess I don't know if I would call it coddling. I guess I'd say it's more of. I mean, there's a fine line, I suppose. There's a fine line between everybody trying to feel welcome and trying to make sure everybody gets along and promotes good discussion.
Mhm.
At the other time, trying to protect people. I think the whole new word practice definitely goes a little in the protective side, which I disagree with. But I think at the same time, you're dealing with people from all parts of the country, all parts of the world with different cultures. You're getting people from, farmland, Wisconsin, meeting people from.
But who cares?
I think it's important to,
Yeah.
when you're what are you in freshman? You're 18 years old.
Yeah, but you're going to leave college at some point, and you're going to meet someone who's not going to like you or whatever it is. So the idea is to not make someone uncomfortable. So let's say,
Well, I think the idea is to give the person that may not have the stamina for it, because like some people have the
What?
stamina for the political debates, and they look at Twitter and they're like, "Are you kidding me? What's wrong with Twitter?" And other people are like, "Oh my God, Twitter's a toxic wasteland." The idea
has
is to give
nothing
the
to do with
sensitive
it.
person an opt out.
but you can walk away in that case. If
Yeah, but like
if
that's
we meet-
awkward. Walk away,
Brian,
Just safe.
if we meet on a college campus,
Yeah.
and I fundamentally don't like you for whatever reason,
Sure.
I don't like clean-shaven people. You're a fucking asshole.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, you're kind of 5 o'clock
Yeah.
shadowing. If I make that known,
Hey, I've been working on this for 3 weeks, dude.
I'm sure.
How am I doing?
In some way, shape, or form, if I make that known, first of all, it's good that there's an immediate sign that I don't like you. Okay, you should know that. I shouldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
You should find that out
fine.
later. Secondly, you should figure out how you're going to deal with people who don't like you.
True, but I might be in a situation where the teacher didn't know that. They've got us in a discussion. We've had a previous something or other, and I'm like, I don't want to fuck with this, and I am like high in neuroticism, and I can't take this.
What
I
are
might
you
want to say
talking-
for
I can't even follow your
word.
your intensely hypothetical scenario.
So what if he's the teacher? We're in philosophy class. I say something to the teacher. And then the teacher says, "Well, then talk it out." Like go at, and I'm just like, "All right, I don't want to deal with it." You could safe word out of that. Like I don't.
Well, then walk the fuck out.
Well, no, but I'm playing devil's advocate on the thing. Like I generally agree with you guys that this isn't the best way forward. But there are some people that just can't handle the conflict. And for those people, yeah, they do need to opt out, because if you don't let those people opt out, man, they're gonna. Those are the people that might pick up an AR-15.
If I may, I'd argue maybe it's a good analogy would be, as a baseball player myself. As you start out, you
gross.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't play any Russian sports, but
No, you
What are
should.
Russian sports?
Curling.
Any sport is more manly than baseball. let's
Bear
put it that
wrestling.
way.
What are you talking about?
But
Bob-
so like as you
Bob
start
Gibson used to beat people
so
in the
as you
head.
start
The
playing
butthole of all sports. Go ahead.
So as you start playing baseball, you start off with like t-ball. You start off with the rules very, dumbed down. There's a lot more rules going on. You switch to like a coach pitch, which is generally underhand to make it easier for you to hit a ball moving.
Interesting.
Switch to like a kid pitch, and then as you grow up, the bases and the field gets bigger. And
Mhm.
So I'd argue it's something more like that. You're getting these people who are learning how to interact with real people who are from completely different lives for the first time. I think it's maybe not necessary, but it might be useful to have some rules of engagement in place so
But
that
you don't have that shit in high school. Like there's
You
there's a lot of
you're exposed
unstructured
to
play, right?
a much more diverse group of people in college.
And you're
especially
supposed
as
to
everybody
think
gets
for
mad at
yourself
it.
a little more in college and high school. You're supposed to be sort of taught, usually a minor.
Again, if
In college,
you're,
you're a young adult.
the whole idea of going to college is you're interacting with new people. You don't need if you don't know how to interact with people, the actual interaction themselves will teach you. People will stop hanging out with you.
But aren't we?
They'll get
but
pissed
in
off.
your
You
case,
won't be
Dima,
invited to
like,
parties.
you're discriminating against those that are the least outgoing. There's some people that can't take it.
Well, then maybe they shouldn't go to college. Maybe they should just hang out and be what's it called? And they're probably already a recluse. Like you're not doing people
you could
favors.
be a brilliant engineer and a recluse.
I mean, you're arguing that
Great.
that they'll learn, that they'll get better at it, that they must get better at it, and I think the idea is that this is a way for them to do that. So I don't really see what the
You're right.
is your issue with them having a process to get better at it? Like they should just rub some dirt in it and get better themselves.
You're by
School of Hard Knocks
virtue.
style, or
So first of all, yes, I'm a big proponent of that. But let's take that off the table right now. By virtue of even having that rule or having something on the
was
board
a suggestion,
that says microaggressions or whatever it is, all of these suggestions, you're already padding the room. Like you don't. If you're smart enough, if a kid is old enough, and you put the bumpers up in bowling, you're already subliminally sending them a message that they're a fucking loser. Like the bumpers themselves are already telling you.
So if you're on the bunny hill on the ski slope, are you a loser? Or are you just learning?
That depends. Are you if I'm on the bunny hill and I'm a grown ass person,
Maybe you've never seen snow before.
that depends.
Maybe you're from Jamaica.
with the bumpers
That's
up,
true.
you can still bowl a strikeout hit without using them.
Yeah, that's true.
You could, but what I'm saying is
You can.
I understand that it doesn't fundamentally change the game, but it definitely gives you a sense of, okay, now I'm in a padded room environment, and now I know what the people think of me that are putting up the
But
bumper.
you're applying a person's standard that is very socially conscious to somebody who probably isn't. So you can't be inside their head. Like a person that is high in neuroticism and is not outgoing is not going to think at all like you.
Right. I think you're thinking of it as it would appeal to you, but I mean, I think you'd admit that there's a lot of people out there who don't necessarily think the same way you do.
Right.
So if you can put bumpers up, you don't have to use them. Other people might like to use them.
To Dimitri's point, if everyone had to play with the bumpers and there was no option to remove the bumpers, period, then now I've got a problem again. But the thing is that it was an optional thing. So I generally think that's not a bad way to deal with it. Like enforcing microaggressions and codifying them with speech codes is probably not the way to go.
I mean, listen, maybe you're right. At the end of the day, it would make someone like myself certainly avoid people who would make use of
Sure.
the bumpers
and
of
that's
life.
totally fine.
And in a way that is helpful, because if I ran into someone who said safe word or whatever the fuck it is,
New word.
new word,
Neward.
What's your
I
safe
would immediately flip them off and walk away. Like it wouldn't even be,
Sure, and that's your right to do it.
Yeah.
which is great.
See
So
what the problem is.
so maybe maybe it works out in the favor of people who
Right.
are
As
more.
long as they're not making everyone do that. And as long as the people that say new word don't get the primary objection to who the speakers are from, say, I don't know, like the Young Americans Foundation, because that seemed to be the problem.
It's
the
not that.
most offended
If
were the ones that
there's-
get to decide who gets
If
to
there's
speak.
punitive action involved, then that's a problem, because I'm a huge fan of social Darwinism. So if some policies on campus or wherever are stifling social Darwinism, then we have a
Okay,
huge problem.
what do you mean by social? You're gonna have to break that down.
Meaning, what is causing the evolution of a person, of our zeitgeist
Okay.
of society? And
But
what, and
social
what is- and
Darwinism,
what
some
is
people are going to think
artificially
that the weak
stifling
can't
that?
keep up. Most people are going to think, when I hear
Yes.
social Darwinism, no safety nets.
Correct.
If the weak can't keep up, F them.
That's what I mean. Yeah, fuck them.
Right.
That's and I'm a
So
huge
you mean
proponent.
so you would get rid of all welfare programs?
Wait, I thought you believe in UBI.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
I do believe in UBI.
Wait,
great
wait, hold on.
great transition, Jake.
Well, then
Blah, blah, blah.
that's completely opposed to what most people know as social Darwinism. So you must be defining it differently.
So I am defining no
He means
No-
a social status Darwinism.
no
That's what he means.
social interaction safety nets, i.e. you need to be coddled. So if you can't hack, and I'm a big fan of peanuts, huge fan of peanuts. If you're genetically weak and you can't handle them, is that you?
No, it's
I'm
not
kidding.
me. I didn't quite get what you meant there for a second.
Oh, I knew
No.
that's where he was going
I
with
think
peanut
I'm gonna break the
allergies.
shell open because they're so.
I will break the shell of a peanut. No, the whole point is you coddle, motherfucker. You can't bring a peanut into a preschool classroom. Get out of here. You
Right.
should already know that your kid is genetically weak, and then somehow, let the class know whatever it is. Keep them home, homeschool. I mean, if you have such intense allergies, clearly you did something
Right.
wrong.
I think that's actual Darwinism. That's
I know, I
That
believe
is-
so. That you
so
could make an
I'm-
argument that like he's like okay with like the conquistadores and launching smallpox blankets.
No, it's not that. It's more so you should have brought up the agoge, which is the Spartan thing of like releasing your child into the wild for 2 years and
Jesus Christ.
making sure that they survive.
Well, the Spartans had all kinds of things. They like decided
fucked
like
up.
when you were 18 is the part.
Well, we've
16
already
or 18.
taught-
You would have to go kill the Huguenots, right? This was
We already
the
know my
thing for
views
the
on eugenics. So
Spartan human man. Like this is
Like that's
pretty
getting very
brutal.
esoteric real fast.
peanuts.
Right.
Can we title this podcast "Peanuts" and my love for them and how they would murder 10% of the population? I don't
Yeah.
even know if that's the case.
But no.
That'd
So
be great.
to transition, I guess you've been talking more about how like you're a big fan of Andrew Yang
Andrew Yang.
and his policy of
Andrew Yang 2020.
his
Hashtag
his
Yang
platform-
Does
2020.
anyone even know who Andrew Yang is?
Oh
right?
my God.
If it wasn't for you guys, I
Hit-
wouldn't know who this
That's
guy
because
is.
you're terrible. Okay, first of all.
Well, because maybe
How
I
much of a
pay
chat if you
attention
know who
to
Andrew Yang
mainstream
is?
politics.
So he is fast sweeping the nation. His shit is gaining massive popularity. He's about halfway there in terms of individual donations. I'm gonna
Anyone listening to say where he is
Halfway
at the
where?
polls, because I think he's like 1%.
everywhere.
great. Okay, I will answer that question. 1% is halfway there, by the way. So that's 100% of the way there.
there.
If you're polling at 1%, you're already doing well. Let's put it that way. Secondly, you need a certain number of individual donations. I think it's something like 60,000. I could be pulling that number out of my ass. In order to get
Is that dollars or donators?
donators, individual donators. So I'm going to need both of you to donate $1. In order to get on the debate stage
Yeah.
for the Democratic primaries. So
Is that per state?
no,
No,
it's
it's a certain
overall
amount. That-
overall donors.
That
for
way you
across-
can't have one rich guy that's sponsoring you. You need to have it spread out.
Or like
Yeah.
Vermin Supreme?
So there's a total
Vermin-
number and a
Vermin Supreme.
a
Let's
number,
go.
number.
I would love to have him on the stage.
He's got my money.
Good. I love you, Jake. This is perfect.
Okay, so make your case. for
Okay,
Yang.
so whatever. So you need individual donors, blah blah. He's got, I think last I checked, 35,000 individual donors, and he's already polling at 1%. So it's either like 60,000 individual donors or 1% polling at 1%, based on I don't know what poll. So either of the two gets you on the main debate stage. Point is, let's get him there. Secondly,
why do you like him? Why
he's-
should we get him there?
he's a candidate on the Democratic Party platform, and he's the only candidate that is actively pushing universal basic income. So
It's the only
UBI.
thing he's pushing.
That is the only thing he's pushing. He's a smart Asian man. Can we just focus on that? I mean, we're comparing the guy who's a well, he's not a contrarian. What's Trump? He's an outsider.
Populist.
populist, whatever.
Hammer.
Even though he's really not. Yeah, the Orange Hammer. Better than establishment, but he's not very smart. So what I'm looking for in this next debate cycle is an outsider who is smart and who's not establishment. It's pretty simple.
So we should
Okay.
vote by IQ.
I would absolutely love voting based on IQ.
I think you'd regret that.
I have been a proponent of this for
Okay, but
forever.
all right, but an IQ does not like IQ is in no way associated with morality, though. So would you like a
don't
person
care. I
with a
don't
higher
care.
IQ of unknown morality,
Yes.
or a lower IQ
No.
of solid morality?
No, the former.
I
150%.
wouldn't agree.
I don't want okay.
Like as long as you're not like 75, right? Then
So
you're
so
probably not enough.
So you would prefer an idiot who's just
No,
super
I would
nice.
prefer somebody who's 120 that I know has solid moral foundations versus somebody who's 140 and I have unknown foundations.
Eh.
Okay. So what is it about Andrew Yang that you like specifically?
So beyond the fact that he's a smart Asian man, spoiler alert, he's Asian with last name Yang. So the UBI policy that he's pitching, and
UBI.
I've already said it's universal basic income, you fuck, that he is proposing and has talked about how he would fund it, seems like a good approach. And the biggest reason, and
How would he do it? How would he fund it?
so something like,
And what is the universal basic income? $15,000? How much is it?
do you know nothing about this?
You gotta
No,
explain
I
it to
don't
the
know much
audience.
about Andrew
Are
Yang
you just posturing for the
because I watch mainstream politics. And
Ugh, I want to hurl
like
into
Bernie is
I wanna
25
hurl into the
27
microphone.
times more likely to be elected based on the
Oh my
polls.
God.
Either you explain it or I'll straw man
Yeah.
explain it.
Okay.
I will explain it. I'm just disgusted by people like Brian who think that Kamala Harris is the end-all be-all of the
What?
Democratic Party.
I don't think that.
That's so gross.
Where did you come up with that?
I'm just strawmanning you, but it's basically true.
It's just
It's
you're
what-
not even straw manning me.
it's
You're
what-
just randomly making
what
shit
you
up.
believe. Okay, listen. He is a outsider fringe candidate, much like Tulsi Gabbard, who's the second best person in the race. Okay,
Okay.
and he wants to do $1,000 a month for everyone over the age of 18.
So 12K.
So
All right.
12K a year.
Mhm.
Okay, it would be an opt-in. Okay, so you wouldn't be automatically opted in. So if you're Bill Gates, you don't need to, or
Okay.
whoever. And so you had like 3 questions. So why what are you asking? I mean, we've been talking about this for a while now, so this isn't the first time we've broached this topic. Spoiler alert for people listening. So how he wants
Yeah,
to
how
how
he's
he
gonna
wants
pay
to
for
pay
that.
for it. So percentage, so like 40,
Now, how many you get this when you're 18? To 9-year-olds get this?
18 and older.
Okay.
No one's listening.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Jake.
It's
You can
good to chat.
step in and defend my shit. So first of all, there's a percentage of whatever the this UBI would come back in taxes. Something like 400 to 600. So the overall spend on this program is 1.8 trillion. Okay.
Yeah.
Annually?
I just did the math.
And- yeah.
Mhm.
So it's our GDP is something like 21 trillion. I can't remember, but it's a significant percentage. It's like, I think it's like 10% of all income taxes that are currently collected. That's what this program would cost. So some percentage of this, because I'm not getting into the numbers, I don't remember. Some percent is coming back as taxes. So you get this $1,000 and you immediately spend it on shit that you already need. Car repairs, toilet paper, whatever the hell. You need
So
a
for going,
Yeah.
why? What's the purpose of UBI? Just $1,000 a month? Like, what's the point of giving someone, giving every person over the age of $1,000 a month?
Mhm.
What's
yeah. So
is it just to just give everyone more money, or
no, so there's a variety of reasons. One reason is to partially offset the losses that are going to come from automation and artificial intelligence. So the fact that we're going to be losing, half the jobs that are, currently out there in the marketplace and within the next 10 years, which is a realistic figure, is partially to offset that. Stop laughing. It's really tough.
The new economy
Secondly-
will favor higher skilled jobs. But go on.
Secondly, it's to increase innovation. So currently, we have a very low threshold for innovation, and part of the argument is the fact that people are very concerned with just surviving. They have to go to a dead-end job. They don't. It's difficult for them to grind out their passion as well. So the idea is, if you're getting $1,000 a month and you want to live in buttfuck Idaho, and you want to pay $200 in rent, $300 in food, whatever it is, $100 in food, and then spend the rest of it into your passion to be able to start a business, whatever it is, that's supposed to spur innovation.
So which one of us is going to call bullshit on
The
this?
third aspect,
Because I'm calling bullshit on the
either of
innovation part. Like, I get it from a social welfare point, but I do not get it from an innovation point. But go on.
innovation, by the way, means a lot of different things.
It means
If you want to be, if you're an artist,
Yeah,
or,
I know.
or you're an inspiring artist,
my ridiculous screed, like the Unabomber, who you're describing as the person in BFE Montana, right?
Unabomber. What do you
Like, now I'm going to get paid for this, right? Like, people that, if you're where we're calling entrepreneurs, like, that you're going to need an engineer's background to invent something, most likely. And if you're Jeff
again,
Bezos from Amazon, you
First of all-
did this shit in your
first of all-
basement, then you've got the motivation where you don't need it anyways.
First of all, clearly you're not an entrepreneur because you don't need an engineering background. If you're trying to start the next Facebook, sure, that's the case.
Yeah, but then you need motivation. You don't need UBI.
if you are someone who is specifically into the arts or whatever it is where you
Right.
do want to innovate,
But the arts don't generally make money. They make culture. Yeah, that's
Sure.
good. You could make a culture argument, but to make an innovation argument, this is bullshit. If you want to make a culture argument, okay, but don't say innovation.
these are partial
Get in there, Jake.
reasons
Get in there.
why this is effective. The very first reason is to offset job loss. I'm mentioning the fringe reasons as yet other reasons why. You can focus on the fringes or you focus on the main one, and we are
Well, don't
more
bring
than
them up
happy
at the
to talk
fringes
about it.
then.
I want to bring up the fringes because I believe in the fringes, because I think that someone who does want to open up their own art studio, do whatever it is that they want to do, open up their own mechanic shop, whatever, and they want to save or they want to work on that while having no distractions, meaning a different type of job. They want to grind it out on $1,000 a month and pursue their
Yeah, I know.
passion. This gives them something.
So
I'm not saying a lot
make
of
a
people-
culture argument, but this is the thing, because the Lady Gagas of the world are going to get this shit done no matter what.
You don't know if they're going to get shit
Yes,
done.
they
You
are. Well, there is.
You are simply
Lady Gaga came from nothing too.
You're simply yes, and how many people couldn't or didn't pursue that because they have so much rationality in their brain where they're like, fuck it, I need to put food on the table. I can't die on a program. I need to be able to innovate and then have money in the bank at the same time. And this is
You're that rational. You're not
I don't
going to be a
even
good
understand
artist.
why we're talking about the fringe.
So this is where I disagree with you. So for the most part, the idea is that if you have $1,000 a month coming your way, you'd be able to do all these things. Where I think that the idea of UBI having this for sure guaranteed income is treating a symptom of a problem with like part of our populace in general, rather than the problem, I guess, itself. So I think the problem is more of that people don't really know how to handle or manage their money. I mean, I think the big thing I think he cites, and you've cited me before, is that was it 80% of Americans can't afford a $500 payment. It's some surprising statistic.
A $400
But
surprise expense.
But I would argue, I don't know for sure, but I think that while the food on the table question could be something for a portion of the population, I think it's a very small portion. I think the bigger thing is that for a lot of people just don't know how to save. I think a lot of poor households will have a lot of amenities that you could generally do without, and you could save money for and do other things. I think the problem is less of not having money. It's not really knowing what to do with the money. Yeah, we talked a bit about
like, if you
investing
don't
before.
understand compound interest, there's not a whole lot of reason to want to save.
Sure, and I guess this kind of goes back to this kind of all ties in the nice big bow is the whole value-added tax part of the Amazon thing. We're talking about how the taxes from that they're arguably, the argument is that Amazon wasn't taxed, which I would say is an incorrect assessment because Amazon's a public company, so all the money that they made as a company either goes to the wages for the workers, is capital reinvestment,
Right. Well, so
or
they're
it
payroll
goes-
taxes. They pay their payroll taxes and they pay sales taxes.
which goes to income tax, or
Right.
it goes to
but
Or-
they can manipulate their finances such that they don't show profit, and that therefore the profit's not taxed.
The profit still goes to the shareholders, which is taxed as capital gains tax.
Yeah, but as but those are individuals, not Amazon. Individual shareholders.
Right, but it's still the same money.
If they don't show profit, meaning they don't have to pay a dividend.
No,
or,
because there's
or whatever
owners.
it
Like
is.
Amazon cannot own its own shares. The shares have to be owned by people,
Yeah.
Sure. What's your point?
right? But you could buy back stock. But what I'm saying is, like, I agree that you create capital gains tax there, but that's not Amazon paying the tax. That's
Right, but the
that's an individual citizen owning Amazon stock that's paying the tax.
But the money isn't just going to Amazon's like bank account.
Sure.
It's not just sitting there. It's being reinvested. They're buying things. They're paying sales tax on
I
that. They're
know,
paying
but
workers,
it
paying
is
income
weird
tax,
to
they're paying
think
the
that.
shareholders paying capital gains tax.
Okay, but
and-
when was the mom and pop's shop that's selling, I don't know, juggling equipment on North Avenue, right? Like, how can they avoid taxes at all, right? And the big corporations seem to be able to do this.
By incorporating.
Well, and when you're a big multinational, you can do a lot of crazy things to where you can show a huge boom one year and then nothing the other year, rather than consistent.
I guess that's the thing is I think that people don't really understand. I think it's a big problem with Americans, like the high school system, especially. People don't understand finance. Like your mom and pop shop. I mean, this is to get a little high level. Like
Yeah.
it's probably operates as a sole proprietorship where
It does.
all the money the company is making, they're making as income. So they're paying a ton of taxes on
Yeah.
it. Where if they could just do something slightly differently, they'd be paying a lot less in taxes. It's all about,
It
knowing
is
your
true, but
finances,
when
knowing
you're
how
a
to
big
move your money.
multinational and you can stash money away in other companies, you can manipulate currencies, you can manipulate markets, and I don't blame them trying to work the system. Everyone tries to work the system.
Thank
if you've
you.
got 2 coupons and they're both usable, then you use both coupons, right? And you get the stereo for $50 and you paid $100.
And I'm not saying the
just a
tax
good
system is
consumer.
perfect. I do think that needs a lot of revamping. I think, again, service law. I don't really know too much about the issue itself, but I'd say you should probably put a minimum like floor of like corporate tax. Like they have to pay at least
Yeah.
10% of the profit. I think,
And
that
that's
was one
not
of the
a
big
bad
issues with
idea.
like one of the Trump tax redo or whatever is that they left a lot of the loopholes that people knew about wide
Yep.
open. I think that's just like a thing that needs to be fixed.
No, I 100% agree. So coming back to the UBI argument,
And just make sure we're competitive with other companies or
part
other countries.
part of the thing is also establishing a social framework where people know that you have guaranteed money coming in. And we had talked about this before. Brian, you weren't there. The idea is I meet you guys on whatever, we run into each other on the street. One of us is working at one job, another job, unemployed, whatever it is. We know, all 3 of us know, because financial transparency or income transparency isn't very prevalent in the US. So like we don't talk about, typically people
It's a
don't talk
social
about
taboo.
how much they make, whatever. But I damn well know that you're getting $1,000 a month. I don't know anything about you other than the fact that I
Okay.
know you have $1,000 coming in. That completely changes the social dynamics of how people talk to each other.
In what way?
Because, so like Jake was talking about, Americans have a fundamental, most people in the world, I assume, have a fundamental problem with saving. They don't understand that they can't do instant gratification. They need to save some money, compound interest, whatever it is. But oftentimes,
I could be making $250,000 a year and spending every dime of it. Doesn't mean I'm saving anything.
oftentimes we don't understand what each individual situation is like. But if I know, even if I look at the homeless guy and they're panhandling on the street, I know they're getting $1,000 a month. Or I run into you and you're like, yeah, man, things aren't going well, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, well, I know this guy's getting $1,000 a month. So you could be using that money to put yourself back on your feet, do whatever. It's supposed to invigorate the social framework, the social capital that's bred into Americans. And looking at this as a handout is the absolute worst way to frame this, because
Then how do you frame it?
because at the end of the day, money is being funneled into the government. So what we were talking about, the reason why we brought up the value-added tax is that is a large proportion of how this program would be paid for. About $800 billion be funded with a value-added tax that's at half the rate of Europe's value-added tax. And the idea behind there is yes, there's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of ways that companies are not paying taxes. A lot of them do have some sort of like they feel the fact that they're not doing their fair share, whatever you want to call it. They have a social burden on them, but they don't know how to realize it, because at the end of the day, you're right. If I have 2 coupons, I'm not an idiot. I'm going to use both of those coupons
if they're both useful.
when I buy something. But imagine you up the price, do whatever it is, add a value-added tax. Maybe these companies do want to do well, and this is the way that they will. They'll be like, okay, we won't fight this. We won't lobby against this. If this passes, now we know that across the board, everyone has to pay
But
the
they
VAT.
can just move. Like the thing
They
is,
can move
they can
where?
move in the Netherlands. They can move to the UK.
You don't fundamentally understand of that, I think. And so
You could move to the UK.
I don't want to make
If our taxes are prohibitive, then I'll just move my. I have enough capital.
Brian,
I'll move my
let's
company to the
stop
United
for a
Kingdom,
second,
and
because
then I'll
you
just
don't.
sell.
Okay, so I don't want to disparage you, but you don't understand value-added tax. The value-added tax says that if I am paying you to move this phone 3
Mhm.
feet, oh fuck it, I don't even need to use a stupid example. You take an Uber ride. It does not matter where Uber is located. The
Okay.
fact that you took an Uber ride in the
So it's
city
use
of
tax.
Milwaukee, it's a value-added tax.
So it's a use tax.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
You can look at it the same way.
Right. So now use taxes are going to kill, like, think of roads. Roads have use taxes, but then who are you targeting? Primarily truck drivers.
What the hell are you talking
Right.
about?
If you have use taxes everywhere, then
there is an argument to be made about the fact that the value-added tax would be pushed down to the
it's not
consumer.
a value add tax, it's a use tax. I don't understand why they're calling a value add other than obfuscation.
Because everywhere in the world, that's what they call it.
It's a use tax.
Okay. Well, Google
So
the
right.
difference.
So if
don't
I
know
put
the
a use
difference.
tax on roads, who does that affect? Truck drivers, and mostly independent truck drivers.
The idea of the VAT, I think, is more based on GDP. It's as you produce things, that's the value you're adding. It's not based on like arbitrary value. It's tied towards the dollar amount value.
When
you're creating.
when Amazon delivers a
Revenue.
package, when you do anything that adds value,
Okay.
even if you move money from one place to another, you're adding value to the process somehow.
Okay. And then
You get taxed on a per transaction and per whatever basis.
so if
It's like a transaction. tax.
if you make an iPhone and then everybody wants these cool little sequins on it, but I'm the one that puts the sequins on it, then I get taxed.
Yes,
transaction of them paying you to do it gets taxed.
you have added value
Which you could bake into the cost of it if you wanted.
somewhere in the equation. You've added value.
Okay. So I get a tax by whom? The government?
The government, which
But by on what? So you sell me. So I buy iPhones from you for $300. I put my little sequins on them, which cost me $10, but I remarket it for $400. What's my value-added tax?
so $100, which whatever it is, whatever money you made, there's going to be a tax.
So I made $90 minus my costs. Okay.
Oh,
So-
because you said it was $10. I don't know what the value added tax would be. The only thing I know is that
I mean,
it's
because like that's
going
my
to be
profit. My
half-
profit is already taxed when I submit my 1099s. I don't understand what a value-added
if
tax
you're sole
is.
proprietorship.
Yeah. Right.
Amazon, as an example, did not pay anything in taxes.
Because they
For
can
the first
report
quarter.
losses from currencies because they're a massive multinational.
This would make
I could
it-
not do that as the
this-
sequin guy on the iPhone thing.
This would make it so that you cannot avoid taxes. So the value-added tax would impact everyone. The whole idea is that would
But
pay
right.
for a program like this. Now,
But the argument is going to be, okay, although it will pin Amazon down, Amazon can still, unless we're going to get rid of our corporate income tax, then
It's
it's
not-
going to pin down the small businessman even more than the big businessman.
Brian, how many small business? I mean,
You want small businesses
Republicans keep talking about small businesses like
because
this is,
banks are too
they're-
big to fail.
they're dead.
Why
They're
why
dead.
did we not let GM go
No.
bankrupt? Because
Brian,
it's too big to fail.
Brian.
Why did we not let all the Lehman Brothers go bankrupt? Why didn't we let Wall Street go bankrupt?
Listen,
Too big to fail.
Listen,
You want diversity. We want to. Everyone says diversity in 401ks.
Listen, and I
right?
want,
Why do you not want diversity
Brian,
in your business?
I want to fart rainbows. I really do.
Yeah.
But no matter how much, I can't.
Then
I
you
really
encourage a
can't.
small business.
You can't encourage it.
Yes, you can.
unless
You
I'm-
lower the corporate taxes on S corps, and then you do some other things for the multinationals to make sure they pay it.
unless what you do is you actively break apart large businesses,
You can
which
do that too.
which gets into government intervention, then you won't be able to. The natural tendency is to consolidate in every industry because you get economies of scale. You're able to be you're a juggernaut. You just wield a big club. So every industry consolidates. It's not Amazon didn't just appear out of nowhere. Neither did Uber. Whatever.
Yeah,
it
they
is.
did. Amazon appeared out of nowhere. The guy started in his garage, dude.
Major industries tend to consolidate
it
to
appeared out of
two
nowhere.
competitors. You have Coke, Pepsi, and you have like Fringe
my
Fago
God.
out there for the people in
There's
Michigan.
a million competitors, right? Like, what
Really?
percentage
Are there?
percentage does Boston Lager have in the beer market? It's like 0.5%. But fucking Sam Adams is huge because the beer market is massive. Dude, the beer market's big. You have lots of competitors. You don't like the only honest thing that I can think of that has a duopoly, right? Where there's two competitors is the train industry. Right, where you have like, and it's a government regulated duopoly.
That's the only one. So,
and
so
everybody, all the lawyers say that like if you work in the train industry, you work for the government.
so the soft drink industry, the
The soft drink industry has
Uber,
a
Lyft,
shit ton, like a million things. The soft drink-
UPS, FedEx. Oh my God, there's so many examples. You're so wrong on this.
So to
but
go
there's a
from
million common carriers.
one far-fetched political idea to another, what do you guys think of the Green New Deal?
Oh, that's the best thing of all time.
I mean, obviously there's an issue with its implementation. What like the principle of it? Do you think we should? What do you guys think?
It's
Should we
idiotic.
should we make efforts to switch towards renewable energy,
Right.
or is that just a lost cause? Just
What-
say fuck it.
No, not necessarily.
I mean,
But
that's kind of the point. Is that I mean, the right says it won't work. The left says it's a moral argument.
yeah, so I think both sides are morons when it comes to this. I'll let right of center over here weigh in a sec, but I think that the left that is yelling about it. So one side is incredibly idealistic and unrealistic about it. That's the AOC side, right? Then the fucking Pelosi side doesn't give a shit. They're just mouthing lip service to it when they don't care at all about it. They're effectively like Republicans. There's no one in the middle who's going, okay, we, with the next administration, we're going to implement, incentives for new businesses or whatever it is. We're going to give you money if you want to upgrade your furnace, random.
Right. Well, Howard in the
Not a
chat,
lot.
first of all, saying it is possible that you haven't factored in like inflation into your UBI, which is interesting. I'll look into that because that is a possible.
And by the way, I've
scrub.
seen multiple interviews where Yang has talked about this. Not a single person has asked about
Right.
inflation.
But
So I
let's-
think it's a valid question.
okay, but
Population
let's
decreasing.
but let's take the Green New Deal. Like this is absolute silliness, right? And in one sense, AOC is talking about this is complete government takeover of the industry, and then others no, this is just an investment. This is absolutely an investment, right? These two things are absolutely.
What are you talking
congruent.
about? I don't
Right.
understand what
She
you're saying.
said that this is a government takeover of the energy industry.
Nationalization of the energy
Right.
sector.
And that's what she said. Because I'm just going to admit it. Yes, it's a big government takeover. 6 hours later, she said, absolutely not. This is an investment, right? Because she was catching shit for it.
It's like
The
the keep
thing-
your own doctor sort of
Right.
thing.
The thing is, the way to win like the green energy and stop Islamism at the same time is to invent green energy that's cheaper than oil, right? Because boom, now the US can export green energy that's cheaper to everyone, solving climate change and knocking the knees out of Saudi Arabia and a lot of the Middle East that are supporting Islamism. So if you are a Republican, or if you're a Democrat trying to talk to a Republican to get him behind global warming, talk about terror. Say, look, we need to make these industries cheaper so we can knock the legs out of them. That makes sense. So I'm all for investing raw research into making these things cheaper, but I'm not into subsidies.
No, and I agree. And I think the big reason I disagree with the Green New Deal, as I've seen it been presented, is that the one way that I realize that I understand that this could happen is through the easiest way is through nuclear power, and that's something they completely disagree. They said this is not part
The
of the
nuclear
Green New Deal.
power
We're
is
not using
it's a
nuclear power at
shibboleth.
all in the Green New Deal, and to say that I think is. It just shows that you're just being like intellectually dishonest in saying like we want to transition to
Right.
renewable energy.
Right, because it's a
impossible.
shibboleth. That's not green. It's not nice because you've got to take these weird byproducts that are nuclear radioactive for 5,000 years and put them somewhere in Nevada, right?
So what? Bury him somewhere.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
quite work
they
with that.
remember we had that massive thing. Obama actually closed
No,
the
they're
funding on
They're
that
closing nuclear
But-
power plants,
yeah.
and while
because
it's-
right now, where you
It's
there's
idiotic.
no place for nuclear power plants to store their nuclear waste. In fact, all of the nuclear
Send
store it
send
on
him into
site.
space.
No, they store it on site. So there
Send
was a
it
place that we were
into
building in
space.
the Nevada mountains to be able to store this shit, right? That
Brian,
was earthquake proof.
Brian.
We stopped doing that.
Brian,
There's
the
no
United-
place.
the
So it
United-
all sits there.
The United States of space.
Yeah, you're get that across, right?
What do you mean get it across? Launch that shit.
Okay, then find me a handful of progressive activists that'll be cool with that.
I don't understand what the problem is. What? Because you're burning.
What are you
rocket
gonna
fuel?
do? Huh?
Launch it. Look,
Okay.
Look.
the argument,
Look.
look at the-
Okay, if you launch it and it hits space debris that's hanging around, now you have radioactive waste in the atmosphere.
No.
That is going to fuck you.
Are you kidding
So
me?
you first of all, you need to make sure that it gets out
Oh my God.
completely.
no.
You
Again.
would.
So you got a rocket going to space with nuclear material, right?
No
You're
shit.
with me, right?
Yeah, I'm with
What if it explodes?
Yes. What if it
And that would
explodes? What if
suck.
it's a Challenger?
Yeah.
You're fucked. And
Eric,
what if
no,
you
you just-
launch it out and it hits
You
some
just
space?
nuke the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's what you just did.
Right.
First of all, we've nuked the atmosphere before.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're launching,
When?
Where are you gonna fire that? I
What
mean,
are you
you've got
talking about? There's plenty of what's it called, above air nuclear tests that were done in the
Those-
50s.
those
Right.
are ballistic.
Some people just call it littering.
So,
Or is that in Russia?
oh my God, pick an island in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Well, that's what we used to do with. That's where you
Build-
got your H-bomb
build-
test.
build a
Bikini
new-
Island.
build a
Atoll.
new space canaveral, launch your shit from there.
Where do you launch it?
If it blows,
Towards Andromeda, and just like you find a
can't-
trajectory where it's not
really-
going to hit anything.
I can't believe. Listen, if
But
this,
where are you going to? It's seriously, it's a legitimate question.
what's the satellite that just flew past Pluto and is gone for forever?
Voyager.
What was it? Was it Voyager?
Yeah.
Fucking Voyager made it. Oh my
He
God.
doesn't know it's
What,
American.
you think you
Okay.
can launch something?
Do you know how
out
much
in-
nuclear waste we have? We're talking about 400,000 Voyagers.
Okay,
Sure,
great.
all of them are not going to hit a piece of space junk and
Yes.
spill it.
Because you know why?
And where do you shoot it?
Because we can do math and we can
What-
track
what-
all of the.
What if it hits Mars?
what are they-
Would you okay? What if we shot it directly towards Mars?
I don't care.
I mean, ideally,
You don't care?
No.
Ideally, we can invest money into this problem. Like this is like we can all kind of focus on saying this is the future,
It's just like
And we can-
you
and-
complaining about drones. It's unbelievable.
and we can get to the and we can get to this point where we can look into what's it called? It's like cold fusion, which
Yeah.
completely eliminates nuclear waste altogether. As far as maybe it minimizes. it,
Correct.
not completely
Correct.
eliminate
Right now, we have fusion power, right? So fusion
it.
versus
Requires massive
fission,
amounts of heat.
right? What it requires massive amounts of heat, but we'll be able to do it. You
What's
can
out, massive?
separate this by electromagnetism, and you can get fusion to work. But the problem is it's net negative energy. So you can get it to work, but it costs energy. Whereas
Who the
fission,
fuck? Someone actually thinks that nuclear is expensive. Jesus Christ! Read a
Well,
book.
it is. It is with all the regulations on it.
It is the absolute most efficient way to produce energy right now. I'm not saying that there
It's
are.
not, no, it's not. Coal's
there
the
are
most
better
efficient.
ways.
It's the most efficient if you're talking non
Yeah.
CO2.
Sorry, I should have qualified that. Yes, if you don't want to pollute the atmosphere with
But you have a big ass
greenhouse
bucket
gases.
of some the really caustic materials that have a 5,000 year half life.
Okay.
5,000 year half
Yes.
life. What do you do? Even if I could
Bear-
shoot these to Mars, right? And then Mars gravity is going to hold them in, I'm still polluting the shit out of Mars. Are you okay with
Oh
that?
my God, Brian! Space is motherfucking infinite. How are you
So does
honestly giving me the most?
Allegedly.
And you don't think that
You're
in
gi-
any
you're-
way can
Brian,
come back?
You're giving me the the absolute dumbest example. Oh, we might hit a piece of space debris. We're gonna get caught in Mars' atmosphere. Jesus Christ!
And
launch it toward Andromeda or something.
What if
you've
there's a
so-
screw up? What if there's a Challenger? What are you gonna do?
Then you know
what are you gonna do
then you-
when a shit ton, when you got 500 kilos of nuclear waste that explodes, I don't know, a couple miles north of Chicago,
Why is it?
or Florida?
Oops.
Boom!
There's-
Yeah, oops.
First of all,
A shit ton of people are gonna die, and guess what?
this is so,
A lot of this is
so
going to
dumb.
get carried over, and Africa's going to be pissed because that shit's going to go that way, right? And they're going to be like, dude, you just dumped a ton of like really radioactive, like Krypton 50 on us.
so
like,
stupid.
Highly radioactive.
There's so many islands in the Pacific that you could use. Whatever. You know what? We're going down a rabbit hole of stupidity. This is like you arguing against drones. Once again, this is so dumb. I feel like I need another
exceedingly
shot.
dangerous if there's a mistake.
I need another shot to deal with this bullshit.
It's exceedingly
because-
that I'm with you. If I can guarantee
Yeah.
that all the launches into space go
'Cause I
fine,
can't-
we shoot them Andromeda and like it doesn't hit anything for a million years, I'm fine. But that is a big if.
It's
Be-
not
because,
a big
because,
if.
Because this
It's
is a hill I'm willing to die
No,
on.
I mean, come on, think about it.
Okay.
Think of what happened when a nuclear bomb went off on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? And that was about 1,000 feet above ground. Like
Why
people
are you
died of
bringing up
radiation poisoning
these
left and right,
stupid
and that's a pretty
examples?
small explosion comparatively.
Listen, I can't. Okay, I feel like there are better things
Yeah.
to talk about than your weird, like, whatever.
Disposal is a problem.
No, do you want? I don't know if you need
Okay.
more because you're crazy Jews. That's what you are right now.
Nobody wants to figure out
No.
where to put the tens of thousands of ton of radioactive waste. Thank you.
The big problem that I see that I found
JFYI 5234.
No, that's
or
the
whatever.
guy that thinks it's expensive. It's
He's right.
The big problem is that
it's
people in countries like there's always a public outcry against it because they think that a nuclear reactor near my home means that there's a chance that there's a literal nuclear bomb next to
Yes,
it. And
right.
and
Nobody
that's
wants
all-
a train. Even if that place in Nevada was open, how the fuck are we going to put it on a train? Because then there's going to be all these people. I mean, in fact, there were cults. There were absolute cults in the 70s that would protest the train thing. I mean, these people were radicals, right? You do not like. I wouldn't want to be the train owner.
If you are concerned about space disposal, we are improving with technologies on a yearly basis. Bury that shit, and then after you bury it, wait for a few years and then dispose of it.
Read up on
Motherfucker.
thorium plants. You have no clue on waste. Thorium. What is it? Is
I-
thorium a radioactive
He's-
byproduct? Because I don't think it's a fissionable material.
He's making fun of one of us. It's either you or me. I don't care. At
I
this
don't know.
point.
I'll have to read up on thorium plants. So I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Anyway, I feel like we stumbled into this because we were talking about the Green New Deal. And I want to come back to that because that shit is insane because we're going to be sanctioning cows. So,
I thought Jake was the guest. So yeah, fire away.
oh, is it? Are you the guest?
Yes.
It's supposed to be, but it does say with.
Can we shift it? Like, was there rape culture on campus?
Or go back to this.
Can we please? Campus is so boring,
No, it's
and you
not.
bring up the worst points.
On rape culture on campus. Oh, I mean, but what I want to know is, no, seriously, I'm trying to debunk my own argument on the culture war on campus.
Oh
And
my god!
part of this is the whiteness
I mean-
studies, and we have the white. Was that it all part of it? Did you get called a racist? Did you fear getting called a racist on campus?
Are you a racist?
Are you a
I don't
racist?
think so.
I don't think he is.
I don't think I was ever called a racist. I may have been in an argument and someone may have said they think that idea is racist and I pressed them on it as to why, but I don't think I was ever directed to say like, you're racist. And that was kind of like
Yeah.
how people used to shut down conversations today. What was the second part of your question?
And like, so when
Sorry.
were you afraid? Was there a
Funny
campus
comment.
culture that people are afraid to express their views, specifically conservatives
Okay. Well, I'll speak for myself.
or
first.
religious
Jake's
people?
not a conservative, so
Yeah, but or religious, but you might have known them.
as a
We're asking his opinion. It's
as
not fact.
as a polygamist or no, what was it?
I'll let you figure it out.
Poly. What were you?
Ooh.
Something.
So I don't think there was ever any sort of
Polytheist.
Maybe no.
Got it. That's
not
what it is.
If there was any group that maybe on an individual level they felt kind of repressed in that way, I think on a bigger scale, I think dialogue was almost encouraged. There was it still might be there, but that time there was a group called the Atheists, Humanists, and Agnostics on Madison.
Pantheist. No, that was that the SSA or
I don't know.
Okay,
but every year they'd have a debate with college Christian or college Christians or college Catholics or something, and it would be well attended and it'd be well behaved.
Civil?
Yeah. And then I know that there was throw me off with your snickering over here.
Someone said space elevator. That's funny.
I think my sophomore year they actually had someone from the Ayn Rand Institute come in and debate
nice.
economics with one of the professors there, and it was a very well attended event. It got a little
like a Keynesian versus an Ayn Rander.
You were an objectivist for a while, weren't you?
I was objectivist back then, but
now what you've grown up. I hope Rucka's listening.
What about
Rucka? You fuck.
Go on.
And I like the idea of it. I like the whole free market idea of it, but at the end of the day, I kind of saw it as the other side of the coin to how I see communism. Some would say it works in theory. If everybody can follow the rules, it would be a utopic society. But I kind of realize that people don't follow the rules. People aren't, acting in a laissez-faire capitalist society for society's best interest. They act for their own best interest, and that's why I think ultimately objectivism.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. That's like saying that, but that's the postmodern argument a little bit. That everyone is in it for themselves. They're in it for their own power. But there's people that want to mentor people. There's people that want to teach film for the points of just for teaching film. That they're not wanting to necessarily push their own self-interest.
And I agree with you. But I think that you don't need a majority of bad actors to ruin an objective society. You need a handful.
Yes, exactly. Right. You need people like me, Brian.
It's like the same thing like communism. Like if everybody's working together, if everybody's trying to support their society, that's great. But then you get a couple people who kind of see the ways they can take advantage of it really easily, and that's why it falls apart because that happens, and then it's like a snowball rolling down a hill.
What about Republican groups on campus?
I give you a really good example. They've done studies on this where they'll bring a high performer into so they'll have a group, right? And you'll have a group of high performers, and you bring one asshat into that group. That person takes down the entire team because you take one person who's not motivated, who ruins things for everyone else. It's the lowest common denominator thing. That's why none of these systems can work. You need to build it based on a meritocracy. Socialism doesn't work because of that reason. And frankly, objectivism, I mean, it's very like tooth and nail. It's very draconian in that sense.
No, I agree. It has a lot to from like a basic conceptual top-down understanding. Objectivism seems like a good idea, but once you get into the nitty-gritty of how margins work, with how companies work, with how a complicated economic system that we have today, it starts to lose its appeal and it gets lost.
I think space is finite.
I think that we have part objectivist thinking. I think that objectivist thinking just doesn't give you meaning. I believe that Jordan Peterson
argument. What are you talking about? I don't agree with that at all.
Where's the meaning in that?
So for Rucka's defense, there is I think I'm arguing against the economic side of objectivism, which is what you see portrayed always through your video game mediums, your book mediums. But I think
I'm okay with
the philosophical side of it. I think is actually a lot more well thought out. And I agree with it from just I think it brands itself as like a philosophy for the individual. I think it works great for that respect. It gives you an easy way to create and find meaning in your life, which I mean, I think it's
more way. How do you package that in the 1 minute pitch?
Well, you're making me harken back to about 4 years ago. So.
I mean, because I can package religion into the 1 minute pitch, but how do you package objectivism in the 1 minute pitch?
I think the idea is at the end of the day, you are responsible for your life and your happiness in it. I think it kind of takes the idea that, if you want something to happen, go out there and do it. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Don't cry foul. Don't cry as someone owes it to you. Go out there and make it happen.
But what's the purpose of life? Okay, fine. I got meaning. I'm making $350,000 a year. I got 3 kids and a beautiful wife.
I mean,
you are the best version of yourself. That's your meaning in life. You took your lot, your whatever that you have.
I just don't know if that I think that works for a subset of people.
think-
I think that works for us, but I don't know if it works for everyone.
To be general, I think the purpose in life is to find purpose in your life, which is maybe deep and kind of
Right.
surface
Why
level,
would you
but
buy into the Peterson thing that you find purpose through responsibility?
I don't know like anything Jordan Peterson's ever said.
Okay, that's his
You
basic
don't
thing. He goes,
listen to
carry as
the
much-
prophet.
well, no, his idea is to carry the biggest load as you can. You'll find meaning through responsibility.
I guess I disagree with that. I think it's less of. I mean, I don't necessarily. I like the idea that this is the path that you should follow to go find this. I think that it's more up to an individual to kind of find their own way. It's up to you to kind of see, what brings meaning to you. I think for a lot of people, responsibility can kind of give the illusion of meaning
Mhm.
until you find, a true thing that makes you happy. And to get to that, maybe Aristotelian, the idea of flourishing. It's like what makes you, live your best life. What thing can you do in your life that kind of makes your life just objectively better
And how can you do it
by
yourself?
your own standards?
Yeah, because you don't want people interfering. Like if you think that you're the shit, and you think that you can conquer the world no matter what outside interference, then that's what leads you to objectivism.
Okay, but how do you combat against religious argument? Okay, take an argument that I think we'll probably agree on. That across cultures, for thousands and thousands of years, across all cultures, men and women are different, right? Men and women clothing has been different in every society known throughout all age groups, right? Take it back for as far as human history goes. Men and women are different. So now contrast that.
I love this.
So you have that, right? So you have this. Now you have an objectivist society, like how? Okay. Now, okay. Did I lose my point? So
This is the first point I've liked the whole show.
Ouch.
Bring it home.
right. So in one point, okay. Here's what I got it. So you have this traditionalist meaning, right? Now you can't say, oh, non-binary, blah blah blah. We're gonna undo this, okay? Because it's been that way for forever. So how are we gonna undo and say that gender is meaningless now because of transgender and blah 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 blah? Now, whereas also religion has been there for 40,000 years in every society, different. How are you going to say in the same way if you can reject that gender roles are normative?
How do we go
Religion
from
is
objectivism
normative
to this?
because
I
it's
don't
the same.
understand.
Because what I'm saying is, you could say this version of objectivism versus religion is the same argument that some of the trans radicals are using against gender.
What?
Yes.
Please explain. I'm
Because
so
look,
lost.
and one, okay, you have a new theory. Ayn Rand created objectivism in the 1950s, right? In all cultures, we've had religion across the globe going back to 40,000 BC.
yeah.
In all cultures, we've had gender roles going back to 40,000 BC. And now postmodernism come along and says, no, gender is a social construct. It's whatever you believe. If you believe you're a woman right now, you've always been a woman, and you are a woman whether you have a penis or not. How is that different than like an objectivist claim that we don't need religion?
Easy.
How?
Because on the one hand, you are completely dependent on yourself for whatever the hell it is. So you're not involving anyone else. It's me and it's the world. That's objectivism. With the gender non-binary, whatever the hell topic you brought up,
Me against the world.
it's not me against the world. It's me compelling the world to do shit. And that's why.
But you're not saying objectivist. You're advocating objectivist theory for everyone.
No,
And you could be a libertarian about it or an authoritarian.
No. If you're an objectivist, you can correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
hop in there.
If you're an objectivist, you don't want anyone interfering with your shit. Stop taxing me. Stop telling me what to do. I've got this. Okay.
Mhm.
You are the definition of self-made. Okay. With the second thing you brought in out of left goddamn field, you're trying to make people acknowledge you're trying to make me acknowledge your reality. So it has nothing to do with me. You're trying to compel me to do something. I'm not saying it's good, bad, whatever it is, and fucking Jake thinks that we should be respectful of everyone. So kudos on you. But they're fundamentally different. One is facing forward, the other is projecting outwards.
Sure. I guess I'm seeing a subtle, distinction between what you two were saying. You're saying that, as a trans person, you're kind of demanding, or you're saying an objectivist trans person.
Whoa.
I mean, that's
No, I'm saying the concept.
I don't
I'm not
think-
saying
no,
a
no.
person. I'm saying the
He's doing the
concept.
concepts.
Right. I've seen this, like, and it's the right wing view that the trans activist basically trying to say the gender isn't even a thing. That to gender a baby when it comes out of the birth canal is a ridiculous thing, even though this has been happening throughout the entire globe for 40,000 years. Right. So that's an absurd thing to change now. Okay, that's a good argument. But objectivism we have to put to the same scrutiny. Religion has worked for thousands and thousands of years all across the globe, and it's a relatively new concept. Why is that better?
All right.
I see what
I
I'm saying.
have an
Not
answer.
really.
Okay. One is the
Listen,
gold
listen,
standard.
listen.
You're asking me to reject the
Yeah.
gold standard.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to, I'm going to need a lot of
Yeah,
evidence.
I got
to
you.
do
I
it.
got you. It's
Right?
Brian, you've been trying to explain this for a while. It's because of individualism. Individualism has not existed as a concept until what the hell was it? The Age of Enlightenment? I mean, was that when we really started on the path to individualism? Objectivism is the
No, was there in ancient Greece?
not really. You still had the concept of society and
You always have
fucking
the concept of
state and all that.
society. Societies, we're a social species. Of course,
The
you
whole-
always have
The whole idea is objectivism.
Okay, fine, but
ob-
we are a social species. How do you can't take a rugged individual mandate on a
Listen,
social species?
Objectivism
Gibbons would be great.
is-
Gibbons,
is individualism to the nth degree. It's the ultimate fucking Pokemon form of individualism.
Mm.
Okay, that's it.
how do we
The
know
last
that's gonna work?
evolution.
Do you think that'll work on a broad society that's a social species?
objectivism.
I say no.
I would say it wouldn't work as a societal structure, but I think that elements of it, I disagree with.
Yeah.
I mean, as it's explained kind of in the plot, it does harken back to like Aristotle, like as you're saying, like ancient Greece. They're kind of the idea of, individual is like the idea of, trying to get a accurate individual interpretation of the world. So I think that,
I think it's a good for self people
I
to
d-
do, but
I
it's not a
don't think that-
societal structure.
I don't think that there's hot take. I don't think there's a single structure or belief system that will ever work for the world as a whole.
Yeah.
So, no, I
Well, I think you're
reject
right.
it based
Yeah.
on that.
100%.
But I just think that there's things that we're prone to, right? And if we're prone to the gender binary, then we're probably prone to religion, whether we like it or not.
I mean, I'd argue that it's if you believe in the gender binary, then it's like, then you can you're free to live it in your own life. Like that's like the idea of like a liberal society is that you're free to kind of live that.
Yeah. Now, somebody said in the chat there's societies that had 5+ genders and this and that. And I'm like, really? Like when the baby comes out of the womb and you say that's gender number 4? I don't think so. Like there's probably divisions, right? There's effeminate males, there's like hypermasculine women, blah blah blah. I cool with all that, but I don't think that there's any society then when something comes out and you can name it on day 1 is number 5 gender.
How did we get to hear from the Green New Deal?
Because like the
Brian's wearing a
deplorable
green shirt.
choir says that they want the wieners of your sons.
What?
You didn't listen to the
No, but I did listen to like
the deplorable choir
two
are a
hours of-
hilarious right wing group of women that wear MAGA hats that say we want your money, we want your guns, we want the wiener of the wieners of your sons, and that they're claiming to be the
It's
left.
a good rhyme.
It's pretty funny.
By the way, there was a dude in the chat that said he's also a pantheist. So I was gonna
Big ups.
give you the platform, like
Yeah.
sell
your pantheism.
sell your pantheism, you fuck.
I feel straw man already.
I don't know. I don't even know if you're a
I know
pantheist.
it's.
Dude,
I guess it's technically a pantheist. I don't know. It's
Can you define pantheism?
it's vague in the way
I
it's
believe
defined.
in is it
Like, even, like-
is it deism?
No.
like the way I see it.
There's God in this glass. There's God.
That's
Sorry.
not how I see
I'm not gonna
So,
straw man
There's
you.
happiness at the end of this
It's-
bottle.
There. Oh well, yeah, there is. Why don't you kill it? What is happening?
Sipping.
So the way I see it is like at the end of the day, there's like if you look at the universe as a whole, there's certain things that are consistent. There's laws of gravity, the conservation of mass, conservation of energy, and there's these laws that continue
Fundamental laws of nature.
in perpetuity, if I can speak, that continue to hold the universe together and structure it the way it is.
Yes.
That's kind of how I perceive God through, is that he exists, or it exists
Of course.
through these
Toxic
constant-
masculinity.
They.
through these constant, persistent laws
Z.
of physics that we depend entirely on existing. So
So
it's-
those laws are God,
right,
Right.
which makes you a pantheist.
it's everything. So it's a version of pantheism.
But it doesn't rely on a personal
It's
deity.
like it's like an eternal, omnipresent existence.
But it's really. I shouldn't say that. That's no different than how I view the universe, being an atheist.
Okay.
I just feel like I have the balls to say I'm an atheist versus this fence sitting.
Yeah.
Because it's not even spiritual.
what is
in a way?
religion,
It's
though?
it's really just like, because I believe in the same laws as you do, and
I mean,
I agree that they hold up the
as
universe.
what's your definition for how the laws of physics came to be?
I don't think
have
there's
one,
a.
so I-
Big
Neither do
Bang.
I. Neither
Right,
do I.
No, the Big Bang explains all that.
But you don't know. It could be that accordion effect where it's like contraction, expansion, contract. We're in an infinite cycle.
But they
of this.
know that we're not. Hello, have you not kept up? Lawrence Krauss and those guys figured that it's an infinite expansion. We're looking at the big freeze, dude. The universe is not going to contract.
Okay.
Right? That's known.
Listen, this shit keeps changing every 5 years. They're always like, "Oh,
No,
we
it
were
doesn't.
wrong
No,
because we
no, it
found a star that
Oh my God.
proves that
All right.
whatever."
That's bordering on anti-science. Howard, I agree with you. It's just religion is not optional. It's simply the fact of human existence.
Point.
Social justice become a religion. Feminism becomes. I agree. Like what I think what's happening is as religion goes away, ideologies are subbing for religion. Feminism, social justice, one of them. Absolutely. Like that. This is the religion of the woke. And this is my problem. This is what's replacing it as we go away. Now there's many that don't buy into this and that are maybe objectivists.
Right.
But
Very sad we moved away from pantheism.
It's packaged with its own original
but
sin.
what
and
is,
everything.
but I guess my question is what is religion under even pantheism? Like Jordan Peterson's answer is whatever your guiding ethos is. So under Jordan Peterson's definition, feminism or social justice in fact can be a
That's
religion.
a good point.
We're
So
looking
then pantheism is not a religion.
It's not
It's not a
institutionalized-
guiding,
It's not institutional.
but it's not a guiding
You would
ethos.
have,
You don't wake
have to
up
give your
every
ethos.
morning and you don't want to defend the laws of the universe.
I mean, I can define words my own way, so they fit my own definitions. I mean, I think he's defining it a certain way. The faith, like the Catholic
that's his
Church
definition.
is a religion. You know?
But I think it's a very
It's
good
not-
definition.
But as a pantheist, then how would you define religion?
Ooh, that's a good.
If you forget Peterson,
It's
how
going
do
to
you
require
define it?
another
Yeah.
shot.
I'm not saying he's right.
Vamp for a second. Let me think.
He's like, I want 30 seconds of pause. Well,
God.
while he thinks, we'll give that
This
one
is
a
the
shot. But
perfect
this
time.
is-
If
It's a good
we had
discussion.
if we had a vape pen, this would be the perfect. Let me
well,
Let me think about it for
what
a
we
second.
will say is that Jake did not have to go under a Title IX tribunal while at the University of Wisconsin.
because he didn't
And-
rape anyone.
Well, but you don't have to. There were plenty of innocent people that have gone through Title IX tribunals, right? Hello.
Okay, or fake rape anyone.
Fake
Doesn't matter.
rape or being accused,
Title
right?
IX has nothing to do with this
And-
conversation.
or discriminate against
Very-
sex in
very
any
weird.
other way. But so that's a good thing. We were basically getting his thing on college campus.
Whatever, we
Then it
didn't
turned
even-
into discussion
we
of a
didn't,
whole.
we didn't even
host of
fucking
other-
talk about Alex Jones, which pisses me off because that is
All right, see,
that-
it's
that-
hilarious.
'cause this is-
I'm watching like Michael Cohen, which everybody was watching today. That fucking circus, right?
no.
And he is watching Joe Rogan.
anyone who's
and
anyone.
Alex Jones, which was definitely a side stage. Okay, it was. And I'm not saying it wasn't a better side stage. I'm just saying I watched Lady Gaga and you watched, I don't know, like Cheap Trick on the side stage.
Listen, you're so wrong because the mwah of today was watching that 5 hour. I didn't even watch all 5 hours.
5 hours.
Was watching that 5 hour podcast with Alex Jones. It
Oh.
was unbelievable.
God, they played I Want You to Want Me like 5 times.
It was
didn't they?
190,000 people streaming that shit at one point. It was insane.
All right. You know what?
Tell
What
me.
I did know it was a thing, and so much. So Melissa Chen tweeted, "Holy shit! I have the same NASA T-shirt on as Alex Jones does." LOL. And then somebody said, "But it wasn't as stretched out and sweaty."
I think that's a good place to end it. I think we're a bit over.
On the
Right.
on the Alex.
That's a good
Jones
place to
fat,
end it.
Fat joke.
Melissa Chen's better looking than Alex Jones.
what did you-
I think we can get unanimous agreement. on that.
What did you want to say? What about Patreon? What are we trying to say here? We're off that shit.
Right.
aren't
If
we?
you're crazy enough to support us on Patreon, do that.
No, we're off of it. Oh, we lost it?
Because of the show.
Oh, were you making a joke? It's not a good joke.
Right. It's right.
Whatever.
We're still on it. I know, right? We're not ready
we're
to
on
reject Patreon
we're
and
on-
refeed
what are you talking
for it
about?
because our contributions to Patreon are so infinitesimal that it's like Alexandria Ocasio's New Deal. It simply will not have an effect. Right?
That was
Like if Belize stops
sick
admitting,
burn.
it doesn't matter. Right? So we're Belize.
I'm
All right.
so glad we're ending
Thank you all
the
for
show
being
on
here.
the
Good
fact
night.
Belize sucks. Peace out.
Belize is awesome.